Hello, Void Dwellers. I'm not nice in the comments. I'm aware of that, of course, but it's kind of irritating when I come off as aggressive or snappy when I honestly don't mean to be. Don't get me wrong, when I talk to anti-Semites, I definitely am going for aggression. I think we Jews have had this long history of bowing our heads and pretending that when people piss on us, it's rain. And it really is time to learn to punch back, and not just in Israel, but in general. Anti-Semites are not going to change. They're not going to realize the error of their ways. Trying to appease a snarling animal by bowing your head is a sure way of getting yourself killed. And that has been proven repeatedly for 2,000 years of persecution. They need to be dealt with the same aggression that they dish out. But when I talk to people who are not really anti-Semitic, people that are just fooled by the propaganda and by the fact that anti-Semitism is embedded into Western culture, so they don't even realize they're being anti-Semitic when they are, and they become angry about the accusation, that's when I shouldn't be so aggressive. And definitely, when the subject is not anti-Semitism, I shouldn't be so aggressive. I get it from my parents, no doubt. I have a very low tolerance to bad arguments, irrationality, and in general, stupid bullshit. And that's how my parents reacted to anything that they thought was stupid bullshit when I was growing up. Of course, my parents, being the shit parents that they were, got angry with you for not coming out of the box complete with all human knowledge. So any display of ignorance, even if it's just asking an innocent question, would be answered with anger and ridicule. And as much as we grow up to understand how wrong this behavior is, we can't seem to escape emulating that very behavior. It's ridiculous. Kinda makes me happy I'm not a parent, because the last thing in the world I would want to do is to inflict the same childhood I had, which was a pretty shitty one, on another child. Now, I've been talking to some people I met on the way, and they are all remarkably smarter than me. One of them recently said that I should try the Socratic way, which is ironic because Socrates is my favorite debater. To those who don't know Plato's dialogues, the beautiful thing about Socrates was that he would not even present his own ideas, not directly. He doesn't stand on a podium and lectures. He would let others make their own statements and then start asking questions that deconstruct their position to a point where they have nowhere to go to. Even when his friends came to break him free from prison before his execution, he refused to go because it would be illogical and therefore immoral in his eyes. You might ask, how is escaping your own death illogical? Well, that depends on your axioms, which is exactly what Socrates always tries to establish. He uses people's own assumptions to get to a conclusion. Not the conclusion he necessarily wants, but the conclusion that follows logically from their assumptions. And he himself says about himself that he cannot betray logos, as it appears in the original Greek, a word that we can translate into logic or principle or reason. So when Crito tells him the masses would think his friends have betrayed him by not setting him free, Socrates asks, do we need to care about the masses or the people who understand the subject? Do athletes need to adhere to the opinions of the masses or those of the trainer or the doctors? In short, professionals. And Crito says professionals. Okay then, says Socrates, and would you say that would be the rule in all things? In all things, says Crito. Okay then, says Socrates. So we agree that it's not what the masses think that matters here, it's what people who understand justice and injustice think, right? And Crito has to agree with that. From there, having established very defined parameters for the debate, parameters that the opponent cannot deny because they are based on their own axioms, Socrates builds his argument that by him choosing of his own free will to live in Athens, he in fact accepted upon himself to adhere to its laws and customs, whether they benefit him or not. And he enjoyed them as they were benefiting him, so how can he break the contract now that they do not? And he builds his entire argument with the unwilling help of his friend, who is forced to agree by his own axioms and arguments. And Socrates says, Wouldn't you agree that it's better to suffer injustice than to commit one? I have always admired Socrates for that ability. Ever since I first read the dialogues at about 16 years old, and I aspired to be like him, and I failed miserably in that aspect. My own flaws and psychological trauma play too much of a part in my own personality to be able to have the calm that is required for what he does. But there's more. The world doesn't work like that. Socrates in all of those dialogues has to deal with people who are equally reasonable. I often wonder what would have happened if Socrates was talking to a real person, one of those masses he refers to, and they find themselves in a logical dead end and they pull one of the stupid shit moves that modern people do online, like calling you names or behaving like they don't understand what you're saying or using strawmen incorrectly because they think it's a magical phrase that makes the other side immediately wrong. Or, and I've had that most of all, completely ignoring all logic, completely ignoring what you're saying and just repeating their original position over and over like a mantra. Actually resisting to new information, refusing to read or see anything that would contradict their worldview, because their worldview is not based on logos to begin with. In the end, the truth is that Socrates is only Socrates in a world filled with Socrates-like people. But in the real world, in this world, reason and logic don't work. If they did, we wouldn't have been in the many messes that we are in to begin with. If they did, the world would have been a utopia. I see stupidity all around, all the time and everywhere. It's like this thick black substance surrounding every place that humans inhabit. And, just to be clear what I mean by stupidity, you know what? Why don't I just show you? And you needn't look farther than my own comment section. Look at this guy, for example. This thread started with some anti-Semite saying this. Now, for those who are not Jewish or Nazis, let me explain what this is referring to. Jews circumcise their children. And since this custom is thousands of years old, some customs that are based on their understanding of medical practices at the time came along with it. When you cut off the foreskin, there's some blood involved, obviously. As part of the ritual, the mohel would remove the blood, either by using a tool or by sucking it off, the same way you suck a bleeding finger. It's meant to prevent complication, and it is objectively gross. And to be completely transparent with you, I object to circumcision myself in general. Whether it's done by a mohel or a doctor, I view it as a mutilation of the baby's genitalia and I'm against it. But in anti-Semitic circles or inbred forums like 4chan, it is brought up as a reason or a justification for anti-Semitism, with the excuse being either calling Jews bloodsuckers or trying to portray this custom as a form of sexual assault. And since this was placed under a video of mine about anti-Semitism that did not bring up the issue of circumcision at all, I knew very well what type of person I was dealing with and what the interest here was. So in my explanation, I used some derogatory terms. Basically, I called them an inbred. Anyway, this guy is not even the issue. The guy that came after is. He starts by complaining that I spew my hatred without fear of being censored. Because in their eyes, a Jew that punches back is spewing hatred. Which is basically what I replied. Then he said that I punched back on someone who can't punch me, and then explained further that he didn't punch me and I punched back for no reason. A comment he later deleted, by the way, probably because he realized how fucking stupid it was, but I already took a screenshot of. To which I replied that he doesn't seem to understand the meaning of punching back, which implies a retaliation. It implies that he did punch first. And I said his control of the English language is the same as his control over his own mind. To which he retorted by calling me a perpetual victim. Which makes zero sense. I mean, by now you can see that this feels like talking to a bot, right? Like the replies have nothing to do with what is actually being said. It's like he is literally reading from a manifesto and looking for something that he hasn't used yet. which is basically what I replied. So he replied with saying, throughout all of this, you have been the one punching me, and I don't care about your opinions. Nice paragraphs, bro, keep it up. First of all, I love how he calls me a perpetual victim, and then complains of being a victim. Second, what the fuck kind of an insult is nice paragraphs, bro? And I'm asking Americans out there, because I'm guessing he's one, and did I miss something? Is that like a new slang or something? Anyway, the main thing is he's complaining I attacked him for no reason. So I tried again to explain, and I said that he in fact came into my video and attacked me, and if he doesn't care about my opinion, well, that's fine, then he's more than welcome to piss off back to the TikTok dumbassness from whence he came. And his reply? So brave. What in the actual fuck? I thought I was a perpetual victim. How can I be so brave and a perpetual victim? And that's it. This is the level that most of humanity can argue at. It's just above the level of dogs. Pretty much. So, fuck you, Socrates, but you don't have to deal with these idiots every day. Most people don't follow logic. They don't follow reason. They don't hear new facts and re-examine things. They care about the group they belong to, rooting for their side, and making the other side look stupid, even when it's people who can barely spell the word stupid. So I don't have it in me to be calm and reasonable every time I communicate with these donuts. It's also pointless. They can't reason. So even if you do get them to a point where they have lost the debate from a logical point of view, they still wouldn't change their minds anyway. So what's the fucking point? So yeah, I'm not nice in the comments. If you are being an idiot or a racist, which is basically the same thing, I will either not be nice to you or I will ban you. Most likely both. But if you are not being racist, know that I am probably not trying to sound aggressive. I'm just writing the way I talk in my real life. And also I'm probably already triggered from having to deal with these Muppets all day long. So don't take it personally. It's definitely not about you.